Well, there's quite a range of ages here, and I didn't know what to expect, and maybe Ramananda didn't either. So we had a little huddle upstairs and called some people from the state of Illinois to see if they had some suggestions. But now looking around the room, what the thought was to offer, here's some ideas, 1 through 3, 4, any other ideas, and then see what you all want to talk about. Because my interest is, whatever we're going to do, it should be something that will be relevant to you all. But the age range is so vast. My goodness. I don't know how to... You've stumped me. What to speak of, Yale Junior over there. What we're going to do that's going to be relevant to one of the little ones over here and stuff. So, what I was thinking to do, maybe we won't do, but in a few of the places that I visit regularly, there's like, a group of young people that know each other, and they know the person or persons who are working closely with them. And, in one place the topic was volunteerism. And to make it relevant and relatable, the age group was kids in junior high and high school. And it's something that helps in your college admission if you have a little certificate that says, I did some volunteer work at a hospital or at our church, temple, or something, community service. And it's meaningful to college admission people. Now, that's the carrot. And then there's the heart. The heart is, who are we? Not just, well, I'm 6 years old and I'm in second grade. That's who I am. This is my teacher and that's my mom and dad. That's who I am. But in a deeper sense, we're Krishna's eternal servant. And our life in devotion is to reawaken that relationship of loving service to Krishna, and the loving service to Krishna manifests in terms of the service that we do in our relationships with his parts and parcels, our parents, family members, at the temple. So the deeper sense is to try to get in touch with who we really are, mindfully. That modern expression, mindfulness. So that was a possible topic. How to, because some places, I was told, they already have that. And, or for young people, maybe time management, or for young people, maybe reading together. And what are ways some places already have it, and what can be done to make it better. And then see if any of you, youth, have some ideas of something you would like to have us spend some time discussing. Diet, and challenges that you have either from peers who don't like your diet, and they tease you and do other things. And then what do you do when you're getting teased for being who you are? Or or the things that are relevant and meaningful for young people. Yeah, Shaibia.
We were just discussing on the drive about being the only vegetarian in his class, and also when we were talking about meat eating and karma, and thinking about his friends who might be getting some karma and how to sit with that.
Let's vote in favor of that topic. You were nodding. Yeah, it's relevant. So maybe we'll spend some time with that topic. And, not or, is there another topic that y'all in Texas and Tennessee like us to talk about? Have you ever met the devotee that makes the announcements in Houston Temple? Chirag?
Possibly.
You don't know him?
I don't know.
He's young, Indian. No, not too young. But he's in an Indian body, Chirag, but he talks like a Texan. It's really cool. Just like,
I have a cousin like that, yeah.
it's really cool. Everyone's going, wow. And he makes really good announcements. He's funny, and he can tell people, if you put your shoes in the wrong place, we got a big plastic garbage bag. We put them in a big plastic garbage bag. Put it out the back door, so we don't want to do that, right? So there's nice shelves. Make sure you put your shoes on the shelves. Everyone clear on that one? Then and the Tulsi Puja starts at 5 o'clock. It's like, wow. Everyone loves him. Access. Yes.
Maharaj, I was thinking that as the children, they go to the school, they think that they're leading a different life, and when they come back, it's a different life.
The split personality story.
Exactly. So how to integrate, their devotion in a manner that's.
You relate to that one too?
He does.
Huh?
Yeah.
All right.
Almost everything.
All right. Well, that's a classic. Thank you. It's a classic. Should we start with the diet fun first and then do the chameleon program second, or? I'm asking the youth, not you. Yes.
Can I add another topic?
Sure.
Decision making.
Decision making.
Yeah. So how do you know if you've made the right decision for your both, again, like connecting back to Mataji's topic, for your personal and spiritual life? I mean, your material and spiritual life. So for example, not right now, but maybe next year and in the future, thinking about colleges and seeing how that's going to impact.
What a torture that one is. I've been through that nursing program with maybe 10 youth around the country this past year. Sometimes it's easy and sometimes it ain't easy. Then there's one that comes after that, and you know what that one is. Big M topic. Okay. So diet, chameleon, or decision making? Chameleon meaning my role in the school, and then my role at home and with the devotees, and have two separate lives. And we did speak about that in one other place. It was a lively discussion. Any preferences? Well, maybe we can combine the diet one with the other one, because they're not totally separate. So let's do that, and then decision making. Okay? So one of the big issues for anybody, and particularly for young people, is feeling accepted. Acceptance. And I don't want to be feeling I'm alone, or I'm judged, or something like that. I'm odd, and people look at me like I'm like that, although I don't feel like that. Kind of an insecurity or lack of shelter or lack of self-identity. On the other hand, if you have a clear sense of who you are, that takes a while to develop a clear sense of who you are. But as you develop a clear sense of who you are, it's really quite simple. You just be who you are. And I'll give one example. There's many. There's a girl I know somewhere, and she started a fad at school. She didn't intend to start a fad at school, she was just being herself. And her self-thought, why, when I get a hole in one sock, I should throw away 2 socks? Because one's fine, just the other one has a hole in it. So she started wearing 2 socks, making a statement. And she was just being herself. And some people laughed, but other people thought, hey, that's cool. And they started the whole fad in the school wearing 2 different socks. Everyone was going to school wearing 2 different socks. Because this one girl was being herself. And it plays over even in adult life, where it's politically correct, meaning, or socially correct, that you don't judge other people for their values, but you demonstrate your values in a very clear and strong way. And persons that do that, of course, when there's bullies in the group, they try to bully you, and you can't be yourself. But other people, it's respected. Certainly, I learned this from college preaching. That is, it's not okay to judge other people's values. It's fine to have your own values and express your values. Just don't judge other people's values, like right or wrong. These are values that I hold and I live by. That's me. You may have another set of values, and we can talk about your values and why and all that. But this is me, and these are my values. From the way that one dresses, the way that one keeps one's hair, the way that one, not like the other kind of being yourself, where you're like everybody else. You wear your hat on backwards and put a tattoo over here, put a piece of metal in your face somewhere. That's being yourself. That's my mark of individuality. I call that guy and that guy and that guy and that guy. Just mine's different. Because young people are searching, young people are searching for my identity. And they don't really know what their identity is, in many cases. And so they adopt something like everybody else is doing. Romapada Swami made a whole presentation on this, and I found it very interesting, so I started a slightly different approach, but something like it's a catchy title, something individuality. blending in and calling that individuality, or the individuality is just a matter of blending in so you like everybody else. I think that's a nice way of saying it in the English language. Conformity, the conformity game. Expressing your individuality as part of a conformity game. That's not being yourself. And so many things that young people do, just because this is our focus this afternoon, is to either be American, and to me that means no culture. To Canadians, it's honoring diversity. In America, it's the melting pot. Just put everything in a pot, turn it on high speed, high power, melt everything so there's no distinction between one thing and another thing. It's the American melting pot. You lose your culture. Canadians are up there going, you Americans. We respect culture. We honor people for their culture. So being in Canada is a little different than being in America, but being an individual, you can be wherever you are and be yourself. But it takes a little bit of looking inside yourself to see who you are. Not just because, when I was little, once upon a time I was little, growing up, I grew up in a certain kind of family, a Protestant family. And we had our values. And I appreciate the values that I received from my upbringing. And I really haven't lost them. But, Krishna wasn't part of the picture. So when the value came to Krishna's in the picture, like the name and the form and the quality and the pastimes, there was a period, for me, of existential dilemma. Like, am I abandoning what I grew up with? I was sharing this with our college group today. Am I abandoning what I grew up with and being a traitor, or from the New Testament, Judas, he denied Christ because he was putting himself at risk. He thought, he said, yes, I'm with Christ. So he, 3 times. Part of the New Testament story. So am I being Judas? Am I being a betrayer of that which gave me so much value in my life? But then the existential dilemma was over when I understood, no, what was being taught, and which I still embrace in my heart, I'm doing that even better than I was doing it before. The form is different, but the substance is far more. And that's me. And so I don't have any self-doubt anymore because I'm being me. And whether people understand that, it includes, relatives and people that don't understand what happened to me. I'm doing this first person sharing because it makes it a little bit maybe relevant and relatable, because you're young and you haven't been through these experiences. Obviously you didn't grow up in America in a Protestant family, then become a Hare Krishna guy. So there are persons wondering what's going on with him. My nephew told me, my brother's son, who is a lawyer, First Amendment lawyer at that, and he came to visit me. He said, you're an enigma, you're a puzzle for our whole family, like nobody understands you. I said, great. my sister came to visit me. We just a couple years apart in age, so we did lots of stuff together. Very close. She was sent by the other siblings to come check me out, see if I'm okay, because I was an enigma. They didn't know what's going on with me. And after 3 hours, she said, "Mike, I'll tell you why I came. Your sisters and brother sent me to go check you out. You're the same person. You're an idealist. You have high values. You strive for them. You live by them. And you haven't changed at all. I mean, your hairstyle is different, but you haven't changed at all. You're the same person inside." So these are just some examples of me. So I'm not saying something other than I do something and advise something else. Come to understand who you are, and then be that. So for diet, for example, be clear. Not just this is the value that we hold in our home, and so that's why I'm a vegetarian, or not even just vegetarian. I take only Krishna Prasadam. And why? Not just because this is what we do at home. But if you're not clear about why, ask the question. Not in a challenging mood, but I want to know mood. And when you know, then you live by that. Doesn't matter if people like it or don't like it. You'll think that, hey, that's cool. Or not. You're being yourself. Here's a little story. I brought with me a box of Mahaprasadam because I'd like to give out Mahaprasadam. And I'll tell you why. Then I'll tell a little story. The limited time I had being with Prabhupada in Prabhupada's quarters, always, without exception, when people would come to see him, before they left, he made sure they had prasadam. It's just culture. On the corner of his desk, at one point at least, there was a large jar of macadamia nuts. You know what a macadamia nut is? Kind of round.
I think it's a nut.
Yeah, it's a kind of a nut. Macadamia nut is a kind of a nut. You got it. You got an A. Which kind? It's round and it has a pleasant taste. It's not hard to chew. It's kind of soft. So before everyone would leave, whoever it was, give them some prasadam, and the servant would take the jar of macadamia nuts and hand everybody as they were leaving the room macadamia nuts, because it's just a principle. So seeing that, trying to follow my spiritual master, I like to do that. So when I go from one place, I'm carrying prasadam to the next place, please give me some prasadam so I can carry it to the next place, like that. Deity prasadam, ideally. So I've got some. So one time I was visiting someplace, and the first person who was right in front was a young boy, maybe 4 years old, and I held it was perfect. I held it up and offered it to him, and he just looked at me. His eyes wasn't blinking. He didn't, I thought maybe he's shy, and so I just went on. And everybody else, then his mother and his father and everybody that he knew, they accepted prasadam, and they came back to him, and he just looked at me. Eyes not blinking, just staring at me. And his mother leaned over and whispered something. She leaned back and his hand went out. And I gave him some prasadam. And then later, not in front of him, I asked, "What'd you say?" I told him it was prasadam. Because he won't eat anything unless it's offered to Krishna. Wow. And he knew it was milk sweets. I mean, what kids won't take a sweet? From a sannyasi. I'd been to their home. He knew me. It wasn't like a man from Mars or something. It's just a value that he had, and he wouldn't take something unless it's been offered to Krishna. Not just because mom and dad said. That's a value that he had. Somehow, as a 4-year-old, he understood that, and that's how he lived his life. And I imagine, because it's a value, when he was 4, it's still with him. So if you have values, I'll do this. This is now a little bit also for the adults, specifically. There's this term in the adult world called cultural engineering. Heard the term? How do you change the culture of a corporation or an organization or a group of people from that to something more desirable, to this? So they have, people, this is their profession. And so they describe it at the very top. Think of or picture in your mind an iceberg. There's that part that's sticking above the water. That's above the water, culture-wise, is behaviors and speech. What you physically do and say. And that's, the tip of the iceberg. And then below the tip of the iceberg is your values. And you do things according to the values that you hold. But you don't necessarily see the value, you see the behavior. You see the tip of the iceberg. Then you go down further, and those values that you hold are based upon deeply held convictions. The 3 princesses make their entrance. Okay. Values below go deeper, deeply held convictions, like fundamental principles that just don't change no matter what. Over generations and centuries, and just like truths that you hold. Like, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, blah, 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 blah. So those kinds of things. So for us, for at least an aspiring devotee, is I'm Krishna's part and parcel. And my existence is to serve Krishna. Now, that may not be each one of us in the room's really deeply held conviction. Maybe what we would write on an exam to get an A in the exam, but which is different than what your own personal convictions are. But whatever your own personal convictions are, that's going to help determine your values, which is going to help determine your behaviors and your speech. Like, when you go to school and you bring prasadam from home because that's what mom and dad want, and you're happy to have mom and dad prasadam rather than the stuff they make. But then the kids start teasing you because you're the only vegetarian, or what's that stuff? Man, what, yuck, or something. Or whatever remarks people make. It's not hot dogs and potato chips. Or whatever, their mindset is. That I stick by my values because deeply rooted is this conviction, whatever that conviction is. So if you don't know what your convictions are, it's a good thing to ask yourself, what's really important to me? It's part of growing up. Now, I know something that's important to me is I love my family. I mean, sometimes we have our disagreements, but I love my family. I was watching a baggage claim just yesterday. Young African American boy. I love the Phillies on his cap. And, you know, he and his mom were interacting like in such a friendly way. Then spontaneous, he just reached out and hugged his mom. And, you know, stayed there for like a minute. You know, it's a really, real obvious, and like casual, real deep feeling between son and mom. Here's another example. An Indian family, one boy in high school told me, no, his mother told me, his friends in high school were teasing him, "You're a mama's boy." And he said, "Of course I'm a mama's boy." You know, she loves me, and I love her. She sacrifices everything for me. Of course I'm mama's boy. And they didn't know what to say. Bhakti Swami told a little story. Most of you young people, you know Bhakti Swami? You heard his name? This young man goes to, well, whatever, where did he go? Goes to school at Yale. Bhakti Swami, you got your Texas star on. Bhakti Swami went to school at Princeton. And he told this story. I heard it in a class. Before he was at Princeton University, he lived in a ghetto in Cleveland. As a teenager, he learned he had to carry a gun. Because if you carry a gun, people will leave you alone. If you don't carry a gun, you know, he's this gentleman, but he was carrying a gun as a teenager. And one time he brought his friend to his home, and his mother saw his friend had a shirt with holes in it. She said, "Give one of your shirts to your friend." He said, "There's only two in the closet." She said, "Give him one, because you have two." And he said, "And that's why I'm mama's boy." Because I learned from my mom, if you have something, whatever you have, you try to share it with others. And that's a value that I hold deeply inside. I'm a mama's boy. And you know, he was not ashamed of saying it, he was saying it in the right way, because that's what's in his heart. So if you know what's in your heart, like what's really important to you, then be that. For this one girl, I won't mention her name, she was wearing the two kind of socks. She was making a statement. You know, why be a wasteful American? Throw away a sock, throw away a pair of socks as one's got a hole. She was making a statement. She wasn't trying to start a fad. She wasn't trying to like artificially assert her individuality. She was just making a statement. And because people know her, knew she was making a statement, they didn't tease her, mock her, make fun of her. They followed her. They were doing it as a fad, because it's cool. By the way, she wears same colored socks now. She made her statement. It wasn't, anyway. It wasn't just because she wanted to make a fad or just express her individuality. So if you know who you are, the behaviors and speech conform with what your values are, and those conform with your deeply held convictions. So if you don't know, ask. Ask yourself, ask those that know you well, ask your family members, and go back and look inside. And then when you know who you are, then okay, now you're at home, with your family, you go to the temple and with your friends at the temple, and then guess what? School's starting again. It's the fall semester, back to school. Now I got to be, with these people that aren't my family, and they aren't my friends at the temple. So, do I need to be somebody I'm not, so that this emotional need of I'll be accepted, then I'll feel the emotional need of being accepted. I'll feel that need being fulfilled, but then I'll have this other need of I've abandoned myself, and I'm being who I'm not really am, because I want to be accepted. I would suggest there may be some behaviors that you would do with your devotee friends and at home that you're not going to do at school. You don't have to wear all of that externally. How you dress and how you speak and etc. Advice to adults, Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives is, you be cordial. Hello, how are you doing? How's the family? Cordial. But don't get involved in confidential discussions with persons who are explicitly materialistic, or explicitly bullyish, about wanting you to conform to be like them so they're not uncomfortable. Criticizing you or making fun or whatever it is, belittling your diet. Or then it goes into so many other things, what you won't do. Talking about things you're not going to talk about. Not only in the home and with your friends, but just, I'm not going to talk about certain topics. It's just inappropriate. That's not where my values are. I'm sorry. And then you can say, oh, you're a da-da-da-da. And you bet I'm a da-da-da. I'm not, that's the line I'm not going to cross, because it's just not me, and I'm not going to try to blend in with you. Camouflage my identity so I'm accepted. I'm going to be who I am. And persons who are your real friends will honor that. And persons who are not your real friends, they just want you to conform, so that they're comfortable that you're one of them. Not that accepting you for being who you are. Then maybe that takes a little courage. And some people are more courageous than others, and some people are more shy and private than others. Some persons are more social and gregarious and outgoing. You have different personality types. But don't abandon who you are, because you start compromising who you are, and the line keeps moving and moving, and next thing you know, you're in danger zone. But before you know it, it can happen. Doesn't have to happen so quickly, but it can happen pretty quickly. If the line keeps moving because I want to be accepted, because the social values of people today really low, really shockingly low. So, as devotees, as a person, I draw a line. Yeah,
Take a call.
I figured it out.
Yeah.
You're holding your phone going like this. Yeah.
Based off of the values topic, what do you do if you have a set of values, even in the devotee community, if you have your set of values that are a little bit different than your seniors and your parents, but someone is speaking or doing something that goes against that? So, for example, like growing up in 2018, feminism is like a huge thing, and I believe that at the devotee and at the spirit soul level, there's no superior or inferior between the male and female genders. So, as long as they're serving Krishna. So what happens if someone older than you is speaking something that goes against what you believe? And like sometimes, personally, I have trouble not speaking out. I have trouble
Holding your
with
tongue.
speaking out of turn and holding my tongue sometimes. So what do I do in those situations?
Well, it depends on circumstance. Here's maybe a polite and non-confrontational, yet fulfilling a need that you have to express yourself. And that is, wait for the proper time and circumstance and express yourself in a respectful manner to that person, not in a public forum, but there's something I'd like to share with you. Can I have 3 minutes of your time? If I understood you correctly, you're expressing something along this line. I'm not necessarily verbatim quoting, but something along this line. And I want you to know that as my personal conviction is different than that. My personal conviction is, now maybe I've misunderstood you, but I feel it's important to me that I express myself, that I hold a different value. And that the basis for that different value is whatever the basis is. And it's this, I'm open to hear what you have to say. I don't think I'm not inviting you to try to change my conviction. But I want you, and when you speak this, please be aware there are persons who may not be doing what I'm doing with you right now, which is sharing with you, I have a different conviction. Not like instructing them to change who they are, you're just letting them know there's some feedback that may be helpful for you to be aware of. At least I feel I feel irresponsible if I don't express myself. And I want to say this in a respectful manner. I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but it's important for me to say what my convictions are. That's one option. Another option is to write the note, write it in a written form, and in the similar. I had no intention to speak like this in a public forum because I don't feel it's appropriate. You're a senior Prabhu to me, but I do feel it's important and responsible of me to express myself. At least for what I understood with the da-da-da. My value and my conviction is da-da-da. I'm open to hear. I'm not open to change my point of view. I want to be respectful. You're a senior Prabhu.
Thank you, Mark.
Carrying the feeling of something like that, as long as you hold on to the feeling and not just like actually let it go, but if you hold on to the feeling, then it just piles up, and then at some point you will burst out. You probably say something you regret how you said that something, because it's just a pent up feeling. And that's something else you could do is go to a neutral third person and say, when this was said, this is what I felt, and this is what I would like to say, and kind of like what you're doing right now. So I want someone else to know besides my mind that this is what I was feeling and this is my conviction. Now, knowing the person, and da-da-da-da-da, would your advice be that I not get out a stick and whack them, but should I speak with them, or is it going to be, not heard at all? Or just wasting breath? And if so, is there a proper way to convey this? Another option. That person most likely has some superior. You could express to the superior. Not, I want to get this person in trouble. But you're the superior. Do you have some way, can you feel it's important for this person to know? I'll leave it in your hands. I'm letting you know as that person's superior. This is what I understood them to say. This is what my feelings are and my perceptions are. I may have misunderstood. Always, that's a possibility. But at least I want you to know. And you can guide me, or you can go to the person. Sit with me when I speak with this person, so I feel supported. I don't want to be disrespectful. I do want to be heard. You can be discriminating on what topics are more important for you than other ones. Because otherwise, you wouldn't get your homework done. You'd be busy venting about things that you don't like that you've heard. You two were pretty animated on this topic. You and your brother and sister, I assume. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You want to add anything? Question something? Challenge something?
Maharaji, I did have a question which you mostly answered. When I know that you were going to go to med school, but then you decided to follow Krishna consciousness completely.
Yes.
How did you discuss it and bring up the topic to your friends and family, and how did they take it? Because obviously, like as you were saying earlier, it was not fully appreciated by some of your family members. So.
Well, we had the discussion at home. My family members understood even before I became involved with Krishna consciousness. I wasn't a big letter writer, communicator with family members. I kind of was who I was. As my sister reported to everybody, a person that had ideals, they lived by those ideals, and I was respected for that. They didn't necessarily know what those ideals were. If they could write an essay and these are the ideals of my son or my brother, but they knew that was my personality. So when I did that, there was some, the discussion was, they shared with me. When you started this, we thought, it's a phase. He's an idealist, he's going off in this ideal thing. But then when you stayed, we thought, phase 2, you better find out what this thing is. And so we started reading, and we understood it's genuine, it's tradition, it's very ancient, and okay, we'll feel he's in a safe place. And then it came to the point of, if you're happy, we're happy. the subtext was unspoken. We really would like you to complete your medical career, and we'd really like you to get married, and we'd really like to have grandchildren. That's what we would really like. But they didn't say it, they just was the subtext. We're happy that you're happy. So there was those kinds of communications. And then, just a second. And then finally, it was, we're proud of you. Now, they're proud of me was on the material side. You've become a leader. You've got a position in this organization. You're a smart guy. You always knew you could do it. And you didn't become a doctor, but you became, way up there in this organization. We're proud of you. Instead of, our son, the priest, from their language, sannyasi.
Thank you, Maharaj.
So it wasn't like lots of intensive, but it was kind of intuitive and some dialogue along the way, sharing. You have something?
Yeah, it's sort of related to the second topic.
Like a which?
It's related to the second topic.
Second topic, okay.
Like, how do you feel like you made the decision between medical school and Krishna consciousness? How do you make that decision when one thing goes towards like your spiritual life and another thing?
Well, I can say what process I went through, and I knew there were consequences if I decided this or if I decided that. And not that someone was, steering me this way or that way. I was making the decision, and I was responsible for the consequences of the decision, this way, that way. But a stage came when, for me, I was doing what Bhakti Siddhanta describes as licking the jar of the honey. You know that example? If you want to know what the taste of honey is, you don't lick the outside of the jar. You open up the lid, you stick your finger in, and you taste. And then you know the taste of honey. So I was doing the licking the outside of the jar, in one sense. I was chanting and I was taking only Krishna Prasadam as a college student. But I wasn't immersed in a life of devotion yet. Now, I could have gradually, progressively done like that. That was an option. But I felt, let me just open the jar of honey and jump in. Swim around a little bit and, then I'll know what it's like. Immersion, I wanted to do the immersion program. So I did. It had some, so one of the consequences, just this is on the side, I had been listed, you know what 1A is? During the time that I became a devotee, the Vietnamese War was going on. And they had your classification with the United States Army. And I was classified 1A, which means come get your Army uniform, get on an airplane, go off to Vietnam and do your thing. Do our thing. I thought that's crazy. The war's crazy. And take somebody out of medical school to go do that. It's double crazy. So my parents were getting these draft notices. And I wasn't responding because I was thinking it's crazy. Then I became a devotee, and my father said, we're still getting these notices. They can take you away to jail. So can you come with me to the draft board? So we went. And the interview was about 30 seconds long. There he was with my shaved head and dhoti and tilak. And they changed my status. Because it wasn't cosmetic, it wasn't an A on the exam kind of thing, it was who I am. I'm unfit for military service. And their determination, you're like, I'm a useless guy. for the military purposes anyways. I mean, it could have said, we want you to become a medic, or I don't know what they would have done, but it took care of that. Then, so now I'm living as a devotee, and about 2+ years passed, and the light went on saying, okay, I jumped in the jar of honey. And now, and I know what it's like. And I've gotten that training and immersion experience, and now, what do I want to do? A or B? Which is your question. I could just go back and complete my medical studies and be a Hare Krishna doctor. That's nice. Not just a doctor, but a Hare Krishna doctor. I was at a home program, and there was this little girl, like 6 years old, sitting right here as I was giving the class. And she was really tuned in. Like, radar. She was tuned in. So I don't know why, but at the end of the class, everything's over. And I just turned to her and said, what do you want to be when you grow up? She said, pediatrician. And I said, you want to be a pediatrician that never forgets Krishna, right? He said, yeah, that's right. So, being a pediatrician and being a pediatrician that never forgets Krishna, that's two different things. So I could have done that. I mean, whatever field of medicine. But then the other option was, do I want this lifestyle? And my thought process was, I'm really happy. There's nothing I don't like about what I'm doing. Everything I like about it's just the blast. And there are not very many full-time devotees. There are lots of doctors. And maybe by being a full-time devotee, I can help find somebody who's becoming a doctor and help them becoming a Hare Krishna doctor. A doctor that always remembers Krishna. And I have a lot more freedom. And I like that freedom. And I think I'm using it well, so I think I'll just stay. It's a conscious choice. But it's not like the other option was a bad option. It was a genuine option. But it's happy. Inside and outside. Not just mom and dad were saying, we're proud of you. Because you become a leader in this organization. But I was, they were happy. I mean, it was a compromise. We're happy because you're happy. They said that to me. Now, if they had said, we're not happy because you're happy, or even if you are happy, we're not happy, so you got to do what we want because we're not happy, I don't know what I would have done. I probably would have continued with who I am. Because you have to be who you are. You can't be who you're not. Or just live vicariously the life of somebody. You have to be who you are. Somebody else's expectations. And that's who you are. That's not who you are. It's not a 0, but it's not a 10, what other people's expectations are. You have to be yourself. And then, accordingly. So that's something personal, but how one decides out of the options that one has in front of them, how is it going to impact on other people? That's not like everything, but that's a mature person considers that. An immature person just does, it feels good, do it. I want it, I don't care about anybody else, here I go. That's not very mature. Yeah.
And when you first switched to Krishna consciousness,
Yeah.
did you face any hardships that because of your past material life?
Not really. Only internal, that existential crisis thing that I described. Am I being, a traitor? Am I being disrespectful to those sources that have given me so much, including my family? And the answer that after a lot of soul searching, it was painful, but I'm doing better at the values that have been given to me than I was before. And I'm sure of it. Because here was my life before and here's my life today, and I'm doing better at it today than I was before.
Thank you, ma'am.
The form was not identical. The essence was far better. Yeah.
Oh, I have another question about like the morals and values. So if you somehow come across a devotee or someone else who claims that they stick by these set of morals and values, but they don't follow it, like so essentially they don't practice what they preach,
Yeah.
what would be the best course of action?
Depends on the person. One of the things not to do is don't be judgmental. Hypocrite. And you may not say it, but if that's what's going on inside, you know better than they are. So when you have discrimination, that's a factor of intelligence, is to discern one thing from another thing. So the discernment is conduct and speech, and they're not the same. And, you know, with discrimination or discernment, I can see they're not the same. Now, step back, go into the mode of goodness, go further into the mode of goodness, and reflect. Who am I? I'm Krishna's servant. This is like the very bottom of that iceberg, a deep conviction. I'm Krishna's servant. Now let's go back up. Here's where I see this discrepancy between what is being said and what is being done, this hypocritical thing. What's the best way that I can do to be of service to this person? You may not have the answer. But if you're thinking that way, you're more likely to get the answer than if you don't have the question. Be in the mood of service always.
Thank you.
And then you can, consult with others, or when you're reading of scripture, you'll see examples of, here's some options. And if you're thinking that way, Krishna will give you some intelligence. And you may not get it right the first time, or you may have to continue to recalibrate the direction that you're going to move in with this person. But always, don't be critical, don't be judgmental, or fault-finding. Be in the mood of service. What can I do? If that's what's in your heart, that's what's going to come across to the other person, what's in your heart. Whatever you say or do, that is what's inside carries power, carries strength. So, there's a nice verse of Bhagavad Gita that may help you. Chapter 17, text 15. You can look it up. Austerity of speech. And it's a really good guideline. It doesn't give detailed answers for things like this, but it's a guideline for how to move with how you communicate yourself. Even if you say nothing, but with the mood that you're carrying says something. And there's many options. Go to somebody, if you don't feel that you can speak directly to the person, you go to same as this other example, somebody that they look up to. And you say, who am I? I'm this little person. And who am I? I don't always see things correctly. But this is what, this person looks up to you. This is what I see. And I'm their well-wisher. I really wish well for them. And maybe you have some idea how it can be helpful, the right time, the right circumstance, the right way to help them. And then you've done your part, because it may not be your part to say anything, do anything, but you continue to be the well-wisher, and that you don't turn your intelligence off, you don't go and fault find, you continue to be a well-wisher, and in an appropriate method, how can I be of service to this person? I'm dealing with a situation like that. And it takes time. Sometimes it takes years. And sometimes the person doesn't get it. Even when they say they get it, and they still don't get it. Or they get it for a week. And you see they're trying, but then, the tendency is so strong. But never leave the position of being the servant and well-wisher. You had something else?
Me?
Yeah.
I had a question about how can you avoid committing Vaishnava aparad inside of a family unit? Or
We don't talk about that in this
So
I'll ask our Yale University student to respond to that question.
I'm not sure what that means.
Well, I'm a young person, and I see something going on in the family that rubs me the wrong way. And I'm little, so I should just shut up. Like, mind my P's and Q's and zip my lip and be silent. That's the bottled up feeling that's going to come out later. So I want to say something. I want to at least express myself. But if I express myself in the wrong mood, from my side, my concern is it may be offensive. I'm not looking at them, I'm looking at you. And I'm not saying that goes on in your family. I'm not saying that. I'm saying from your experience as a devotee, because young people look to people that have been through what they're going through. So I'm helping them look to you.
I think we were able to talk about growing up pretty much anything we needed to talk about, and if they did something that we didn't like, we could tell them and have a conversation and fix whatever was going on in the household.
So an openness from both sides. And I would guess from what you just said, a respect from both sides. Not that because you said it, you're right, and they've got to acknowledge that you're right and they're wrong. Not a preset, thing the other way around. Look, we're the adult, you're the kid, so we're right and you're wrong. There's no preset disposition either way. Just respectfully communicate and work things out. And then it's not aparad from either side. Abuse of authority from the adult or senior person or something, and disrespect from the junior person. Relational, respectful relations of working and discussing. Now the next question is, what if I try that and it doesn't get anywhere? I guessed it. Wait a while and try again. Because it could be many things. It could be, the other parties are passing through some really difficult circumstance in their life that they're not necessarily sharing with you, that makes it difficult for them, or vice versa. Maybe I'm seeing things in a exaggerated manner or something like that, and not really the best way to be looking at things. So I need to step back and reflect, give it some time, space, and then if it's still something that needs discussion, then try again. One of this is a Romapada Swami expression, it's not a Puranic one, but love is where there's respect that goes mutually, sometimes give, sometimes take, and no one's keeping score. Especially, no one's keeping score. Like, in a relationship, husband-wife, or in a family, I've yielded so many times, now it's your turn. I've been keeping score. In a respectful relation, supposing you can't reach an agreement on something, whatever that something is, then, I've been heard. I feel that I've been heard. We have come to the point where we don't agree, and life's going to go on. So, or it's wonderful if you can work everything out, but if you can't, then you just move on. But if it's a repeated pattern, then it's something that needs some additional attention. Maybe a third party come and say, help us out. We're not hearing each other. Never depart from respect and mode of service. Built within your question is, I don't want to do that. I don't want to depart from that and become defensive. Teenage life is tough. Just wait. You can get about it. I can't imagine what it's going to be like when you're a teenager. Whoa. Remember one parent saying some exchange with their young daughter, and she rolled her eyes back in her head, American lady, said, I can just see it when she's 18. I'm going to tell her, you're grounded, give me the keys, and she's going to throw the car keys at me. No, it didn't happen actually like that. Teenage life stuff. Okay, it's 5:15. Maybe we should end. It's been a nice... Anybody that hasn't spoken, that kind of would like to say something and hasn't been heard yet before we wrap it up? Yeah.
Raj, kind of talking about decision making in split personality. When you're
split personality?
Not personality, but split life of Krishna consciousness.
Oh, okay. Okay. School.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how do you think of Krishna when you're in school?
I'm Krishna's servant. I'm a perambulatory Bhagavad Gita here in school. That's how you think. They don't know it, but I'm modeling Krishna's message in Bhagavad Gita. I'm his servant. I'm his little instrument, little tiny instrument, and my service to Krishna is, this is a devotee of Krishna. They may not know it. They may not have a clue, Krishna, anything, but that's who I am. And so my speech, my behavior, my manner, my mood is to be Krishna's instrument. And it's at any stage of life. Right? I mean, do you think like that? Besides building your career, when you're in university, you're modeling. This is Bhagavad Gita's message. Take a look. And if I see something inside that's not Krishna's message, it's important for me to iron that out because I'm modeling Krishna's message, like it or not. Krishna Bhakti is inside, and it comes out. And I need to purify it. Anyway, that's it may be oversimplistic, but it's a rule that can help guide all kinds of little things. All kinds of little things. Okay. Yes.
This is kind of like based on Arnav's question, but like nowadays we're just put under like so much stress from teachers and like parents to do well in school, but at the same time like maintain your spiritual life like around like focusing on Krishna.
Yeah.
So like how do you like manage between
Time.
that?
This is the time management topic. Well, let me say this. I'm amazed, simply amazed at the amount of academic demand that young people today have. It's like, they're professional students even before they get out of grade school. It's amazing how many hours of homework, and I hear everywhere. Whew. I mean, I had a lot of homework, but it wasn't like this. And standing in line to catch a bus, it's 7 o'clock in the morning. Anyway, enough on that. So sympathy with the amount of pressure that you're having to endure. But to speak of do well in school. So I would say, I don't know if mom and dad are going to say, yeah, I'm glad he said this. But you do the best you can. And without over endeavor, within reason. What's the best I can? You can always do better, but within reason, because this is the time management thing. My language is blocks of time. That is, every night I'm going to need this much rest, and in order to do my stuff, brushing and bathing and this and that and stuff that takes this much time, and eating takes this much time, and then my academic work this much time, my devotional this much time, and you have your blocks, and this much time I need for my social needs, with being with friends and stuff, because we have social needs, and family. So with not necessarily rigid, but some sense. And then when this time period is over, like when rest is over, it's time to get up. And so you move on to the next thing. And so when I'm doing my academic work, I'm very focused. When I'm doing my japa, I'm not all over the place. I'm with Krishna. It starts, this is me to you, it starts with that. However well you do your devotional activity with your consciousness on Krishna, not in the past or in the future, but be mindful of your relationship with Krishna when you're calling his name, because he's there. It's your private Krishna time. And as much as you can do that, you can do your time management better, all the way across. When you do your academic work, it gets done with focus rather than drift. And then you're done, because you're very focused, etc. Therefore, my opinion, priority is your devotional time. And it's done in a very focused, takes years to nurture good habit of being with Krishna when you're calling his name, because he's there, but conscious sadhana. That'll help you with time management and everything else, because time complexity doesn't diminish; it expands. The roles, the demands of your time will expand. So best is learn at this stage of your life, or as early as you can, at that stage of the life, as early as you can, be very present with Krishna. And then the presence of Krishna will be with you when you're doing your other things. You'll be more focused and concentrated and effective. Time management becomes easier. It's explained in Ishopanishad this way, putting it in real simple language. This isn't verbatim. Some people say, oh, I have no time, and it's true, because they've turned away from Krishna. The material energy keeps them so busy they have no time. But if you turn to Krishna, the time energy works differently. You have time. There is time. But you couldn't find it before because you were turned away from Krishna. But when you turn to Krishna, there's time. Time energy moves differently. You get closer to eternal time. That's, spiritual time, when you're spiritually focused. And from that spiritual focus, time management, you can take on more responsibilities than you could otherwise. I was explaining this to the college students just this afternoon, in a different way. Sadhana Agni, Sadhaka Agni, the Ayurvedic term. Agni, fire digestion. We just explained it. You put your food in your stomach and you don't, okay, go, Agni, go. It just happens. So similarly, as food digests, so also the situations and stress of life gets digested by another fire. Gives spiritual strength. And with that spiritual strength, whatever it is that's coming your way, it gets digested. Not stress and struggle, and it's just you have the strength. You have the strength, this fire of your sadhana. It's real. And don't, and it's the struggle. Different languages right there in Bhagavad Gita. Devi Yeshu Gunamayi. You know that one? Mama Maya Doratyaya. Mama Eva Ye Prapadyante. Maya Mayitam Tarantite. You heard that verse? Okay. Krishna's saying two things. The material energy is very difficult to overcome. It's a great struggle. Doratyaya. Devi Hiesha Guna Mayi. My material energy, big struggle. But the alternative is Prapadyante. Those that take shelter of me and surrender it to me, they can easily cross beyond it. That's time management principle. Do your devotional practice very carefully every day. Cultivate that quality, and you'll be able to manage your time better, because the circumstances, time, energy will work in your favor. It's just a fact.
Thank you.
Okay, so Prasadam time. Here's my box of Mahaprasadam. Let's see if I can empty the box before I go. And then we're going to go on after regular Prasadam to the next program. Shiva Prabhupada ki jai.